Alexander the Great conquered one of the largest empires the ancient world had ever seen. In little more than a decade, he defeated Persia, marched into Egypt, crossed Asia, and reached the borders of India. By the age of 32, he had accomplished what few military commanders in history ever would. But despite all of his victories, Alexander left behind one fatal problem. He never clearly decided who would rule after him. When he died suddenly in Babylon in 323 BC, the greatest empire of the ancient world had no clear successor. Instead of preserving Alexander's legacy, the men who had helped him build that empire began fighting one another. The greatest military machine on earth was about to be turned against itself. Alexander's closest generals became known as the Diadochi, or Successors. Among them were Antigonus, Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lycomachus, and Cassander, men who had marched beside Alexander through some of history's greatest campaigns. Each believed he possessed the experience and ability to lead. None believed another should. What followed was not one war, but decades of shifting alliances, betrayals, and battles as Alexander's former commanders fought to control the empire they had conquered together. By the time the fighting ended, Alexander's unified empire no longer existed. Instead, it had fractured into competing kingdoms that would dominate the Hellenistic world for generations. Although Alexander's successors inherited his military system, they could never fully recreate his battlefield genius. The Macedonian phalanx remained the foundation of their armies, supported by cavalry, skirmishers, and increasingly by war elephants that became both powerful weapons and symbols of royal authority. At the same time, the successor kingdoms relied more heavily on mercenary soldiers, allowing them to field armies even larger than Alexander's. But there was an important difference. Alexander's veterans had followed a leader they could trusted completely. Many mercenaries simply followed the highest bidder. The armies looked similar, their spirit was not. For nearly 40 years, the successors fought one another across the ancient world. Some, like Ptolemy in Egypt and Seleucus in Asia, established powerful kingdoms that endured for centuries. Yet every victory came at a cost. Instead of strengthening Alexander's empire, each war weakened it. Resources were exhausted. Experienced soldiers were lost. Old allies became lifelong enemies. By the time Rome emerged as the dominant power in the Mediterranean, the once unified empire Alexander had created had become a collection of rival states unable to stand together. Ironically, Alexander's empire was not destroyed by Persia, it was not destroyed by India, and it was not destroyed by Rome. It was first broken apart by the very men entrusted to preserve it. Alexander conquered an empire stretching across 3 continents. His generals inherited it. They spent the next generation destroying it. In trying to become the next Alexander, they ensured there would never be another. History often remembers Alexander's victories, but the story of what happened after his death may be just as important, because sometimes the greatest threat to an empire does not come from outside its borders. It comes from those who inherit its success but cannot share its vision. History matters because people matter. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. It really helps the channel grow and helps more people discover military history. Be sure to subscribe to HMS History with Michael Stroud for more stories from the battlefield, campaigns, and hidden corners of military history. And remember, history matters because people matter. I'll see you next time.